So we've been playing a lot of Where the Winds Meet. I think I'm on like day 5 or 6. I have probably logged about 10 to 12 hours a day playing Where Winds Meet. Now, I'm not going to say this is the best game that's ever been made, but it's delivering an experience that a lot of people actually want. And I think it's surprised most gamers once you get past the menu overload. The menu overload on this game is terrible, right? But if you look at Games Journos, they're saying that the game is only a 6. Now, I'm not going to disagree that the game is not a 9 or a 10. I would say, it's a 7 or an 8. I do think that it is a very good free-to-play game, and it might be one of the best free-to-play games that has come out here recently. This score is not deserved, and the reason I say it's not deserved is because of IGN's own grading scale. IGN gave Concord a 7, and they're giving Where Winds Meet a 6. Now, I don't know what's actually caused this, but I do think some of it is it being a Chinese game and a Chinese company, and them not allowing games journalists the same level of access they get to Western games. So I do think that the IGN score is actually somewhat biased here. Dude, the menu overload system, some weird online systems, pausing in solo, progression locks are my own complaints. Yeah, I think that the game is good, right? Like, I think the game is good, American, but I don't think it's great. I think it could be very good, and I think if they continue to push it, it could be like a solid 9, a game that everybody's playing as their live service game when they have downtime. So there's a little blurb here, and it says, Where Winds Meet has a great understanding of what makes, yeah, that's wuxia, sorry. My brain, dude, I don't speak Chinese very well, so wuxia. Such a compelling genre, but its attempt to shove as many different things into one game only ensures that none of those elements reach their full potential. Now, I'm not going to disagree on some of these facts. I do think that there are a lot of elements shoved in here, and they're trying to do as much as they can. And some of them are kind of disjointed, and they don't work well together. But I think that these reviewers did not get enough hands-on time. This is one of those games that is really good, but there is a big window you have to get past in order to not have the game suck. And most people are not going to really get past that right away. The game's the game's definitely memorizing menus for sure. So I can kind of understand some of what they're saying in their review. And if their score matched other scores that they had given, I would take it as a okay score. But again, the problem here is that they gave Concord a 7, right? So let's look at what Emerald Apple had to say. Critic reviews push an agenda unaligned with the interests of the average gamer. They rated the major blockbuster game Where the Winds Meet a 6, lower than Concord's 7. Concord never broke 700 concurrent players, while Where the Winds Meet kept hitting higher numbers from the word-of-the-mouth marketing, which is true. With a new record of 251K concurrent players, and I don't even know what that peaked at this weekend, which was insanely high. If developers trust critic reviews at this point, it's a surefire way to take your game and lose lots of money. I think that the developers trusting critics' reviews is kind of moot, because I don't think developers have ever trusted critics' reviews. I think they have paid for critics' reviews in hopes that those critic reviews would influence consumers to buy the product, right? I think if people only play through the initial tutorial and maybe to the temple with all the sparring, they'd have a bad impression of the game. Oh, I think so, and I think journalists don't play the games enough. And part of that is due to the system they're in, right? Journalists aren't given enough time to play games and give them a true shake. They play a very manicured version of the game, or they play a very small version of the game because it's all about churning out reviews as fast as possible. It's not right now about putting out high quality reviews and being very well trusted in the industry. They're competing in an industry where thousands of reviews come out every day from tons of independent sources, YouTubers, Twitchers, everybody like that. So they're just trying to speed through this stuff. And the thing that has allowed journalists to do that more than anything is the early access they're typically given to games. Because they're given so much early access, they can get the reviews out before everybody else. But the problem is the market is shifting in a way that even YouTubers and Twitch streamers can get early access to these games and put out reviews. So they're really at odds with it, and they're trying to do things super fast, and they're given a checklist. And right now, I think those checklists include things that are DEI items that nobody cares about. And they go down, they play the game for 10 hours, they clear the checklist, and then that's what gives them their score. Which is completely different than what happens to actual gamers. The only danger in trusting critics' reviews over publishers, developers are way too busy, yeah. Critics have never been worth listening to. I remember like Siskel and Ebert, they gave it 2 thumbs down. It meant it must be a must watch for you, dude. That's fucking lol. So, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat here with Apple. So let's see what some of the commenters are saying here. Reviews are written by non-gamers. Sites have lost all credibility. I think everybody's saying this right now. I don't understand why people bother checking reviews from groups that have clearly been bought and are pushing an agenda. The best way to decide if you want to buy a game is to go to Twitch, watch people play it on mute, or go to YouTube and see if it's your cup of tea. I mean, this is one way to do it. I've never thought about watching people play it on mute to see if the gameplay looks interesting. I'm pretty sure ING reviewer didn't even play Where the Winds Meet properly. I mean, maybe. Even as Japanese, I admit I admire the quality of this game made by the Chinese. We all love better gaming. I mean, I think this is the important part, is to like stop doing this bullshit of because it didn't meet Western ideologies, it's instantly scored less. Or because it didn't push some bullshit Western agenda, that it's automatically scored less. Again, I don't think this game is a 9 or a 10, but it should have at least tied Concord or maybe been an 8, right? The authors are different. Doesn't matter. Like, this is somebody that is trying to make a point, but the point here is less about the specific author of this being Travis and this being Jarrett, and more about these reviews are coming from the same org. Right? If you're publishing under the same org, then everybody should have the same level of like accountability, and all reviews should be treated the same, even if they're not written by the same person. I personally think the game is still in the works and that they'll get better as time goes on, but right now I'd give it a solid 8. Yeah, I'd say it's like a 7 or 8. I think that the counterpoint to that, Kura, is that the game has been out in China for over a year. So they have over a year's worth of time working on it, and they're just trying to port it to the US. But I see what you're saying. I'm not a big fan of giving people an infinite amount of time, but I am okay with giving them a little bit of time. And I think that we can give them a little bit of time, but in the current state of the game, it's not that bad. I just wish they get the menus under control. I don't think many players would have been flocking to such a low rating. I've always ignored these like game review companies. I get my info from actual gamers, Lamau. All right, so let's look at some related. Let's look at some post engagement here. All right, so let's see what everybody's saying here based on what Emerald says. About time we put an end to gaming journalists and put your trust only in content creators, the real gamers. I mean, as long as you understand that even these real gamers are getting paid, so like always, you know, take a grain of salt with everything. Being a game critic isn't a skill. These people are occupying those seats purely through networking and nepotism based. Their priority is clicks and manipulations of themes in gaming and keeping the giants happy enough for review keys. Absolutely. Reviews on Steam are infinitely more valuable. I mean, they're more valuable. I don't know if they're infinitely more. Let's see. What do we got here? The only thing to keep in mind is to never listen to game journalists, especially with regards to any non-Western games. They've had it out for Japan for decades, and this is especially apparent with the recent like Chinese Korean-made games. You don't hate them enough. Damn. It's called an opinion. Yeah, and it's an opinion, and just like this is an opinion, this is an opinion. So you trying to be critical of this opinion and dismiss this opinion for having an opinion here somehow invalidates your entire opinion. They can have an opinion, and Emerald can have an opinion that this is a bad opinion and be critical of it and create a discussion about how this keeps happening, right? Because this isn't the first time it's happened. And IGN isn't the only games journalist site that is having this happen. What did they give Dragon Age Veilguard? Like an 8, I think. They gave Dragon Age the Veilguard a 9. I mean, doesn't this explain everything? Dragon Age the Veilguard is a 30% better than Where Winds Meet. Dude, crazy. Dude, it's insane that they pulled that shit off, right? Dragon Age is like an 8. I heard Dragon Age the Veilguard was another game that was like a 7-8. Like if you don't deal with like the politics bullshit, it's like an 8 if you've never played Skyrim or Oblivion, and if you've played a really good RPG, it's like a 7. That's basically what I've heard. I don't know, guys. I just wanted to touch on this. I wanted to touch on this, and I wanted to touch on just how off base some of Western journalists are when it comes to some of their scoring on games. It just feels so out of left field. I think IGN is maybe a 7, could be an 8, depending on how you want to look at it. So Where the Winds Meet being a 6 isn't that off base. But when they're putting out reviews like 7 for Concord and 9 for Dragon Age the Veilguard, you really have to start questioning where their priorities are and if they're actually giving reviews or if they're trying to review things based on social messaging and if it ticks all the boxes for the narratives that they want to push.